The longest-serving member of Congress from Texas announced her plans this week to retire in 2023. Representative Bernice Johnson, the first female and first black chair of the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology, will step away after nearly 30 years in Congress. The Congresswoman is the 16th House Democrat to announce their retirement ahead of the 2022 midterms. This is an unnerving number for Democrats as they stare down a redistricting battle, including in Texas, that has already advantaged Republicans. Earlier today, I had a chance to speak with Representative Johnson about redistricting, voting rights, and the future of the Democratic Party. Take a listen. Representative Johnson, you are the longest-serving representative from Texas. What is fueling your decision to retire?
Well, I reached an age, retirement age, and it's a good thing for my family who's been trying to get me to retire for a while. But last primary, I announced that would be my last primary, that I'd be retiring. Now, I've been retiring for the last decade, and I get talked into running again. And so when I announced last primary that would be my last primary, I started to think toward retirement. And I had large numbers of people that asked me to run just one more time. And I really did think about it. A part of me really wanted to do that, but I thought it was time, and a good time, to start a change at a time of a new configuration of a district and a younger person. While I'm still
let's talk about that. Right, let's talk about that new configuration of a district. When Texas redrew its districts, your district remained pretty much solidly Democratic, will likely have a Democrat succeed you. However, you know, that map increased the power of Republicans. It reduced the number of Hispanic seats by majority seats districts by 1, and now there are no overwhelmingly black majority districts in Texas. What do you think about the way that Texas has redrawn that map and how that is being replicated around the country with more and more states using a sort of racial partisan gerrymandering?
Well, of course, it's a grand plan for Republicans, because it is very well known that the minority population is the population growing in this country. And the majority of the minorities tend to vote Democrat. That's certainly been the case here in Texas. And so the districts, as I saw them, were being drawn with a great deal of unusual lines to promote and preserve Republicans, and ignored the fact that the growth in Texas for the last 2 decades have been majority minority. The ironic thing is, in this area, the North Texas, Dallas area, the growth was primarily, well, was indeed overwhelmingly minority, and within that, the majority were Latino. And there's still no district drawn that would give an opportunity to Latino representation. I think that is extremely unfair. It is easy to do. The people are here. They just put people in pockets in order to have their desired party win. The district that I'm in is court ordered, and it's supposed to be to give an opportunity for a minority to win. I've had all kind of percentages of minorities, anywhere from 18 to 28, now all the way up to 50% African American. It's the first time I've had a district that got up to 50%. But out of all the configurations of districts that I've had, and this would have been the 8th one, and it should have been the 4th, I've been able to win. And I really believe it's because I get in touch and stay in touch with the people no matter what color they were, no matter what philosophy they were. The first district that I had touched 3 different counties and had a large number of what I consider new immigrants who've been here 20 years or less. And I developed a great relationship with all of them and had still got a strong relationship with those communities of which I don't even serve anymore. I still have advisory groups from Southeast Asia and Asian Pacific Americans. I think it's a matter of relationships and issues. People want to see you.
Let's talk a little let's talk a little bit about another relationship. You have described yourself as a close friend of President Biden. Do you believe that the Biden administration is doing enough to stop what is happening in Texas and indeed all around the world when it comes to voting rights, when it comes to redistricting, when it comes to drawing people out of their seats, in many cases being Black or Latino people out of their seats? Do you think he's doing enough?
Well, it's very little more that he can do but advocate. It's whether or not we have the votes within the voting body that determines the law. And we are very narrow.
But do you think he's doing enough agitation?
Sorry?
Do you think he's doing enough agitation?
Agitation? I'm not sure what you're talking about.
I'm saying, do you believe that the president is using the bully pulpit to the fullest of its power on the issue of voting rights and getting a voting rights bill that would include stopping this racial and partisan redistricting that is happening in Texas and all around the country?
Well, in my judgment, the president has been very clear where he stands. He's been very focused on improving the economics, especially for minorities and poor people. Coupled with all of the burden of this virus, where lots of modifications had to take place, I have no criticism of the president. The president is in he can hardly get all of his team confirmed. We have such close edges of a minority in both House and Senate. We don't really have a majority in the Senate unless the vice president votes. And if you just notice the elections, the people getting elected on the Republican side have become more and more and more conservative. A lot of that is because they tried to eliminate and split minority populations from Republican areas, so they are really electing the extremist. This is not the same Congress that I experienced when I first went to the Congress almost 30 years ago. And so while I can say...
Speaking of that, I would like to know, what your advice would be. This Congress has changed so much. The partisanship has grown to such an incredible degree, and it's not even an equal kind of partisanship. You now have a Republican Party that is, intransigent to a large degree. Many of them are turning a blind eye to President Trump's lies about the election, or if not encouraging it. So what do you say to the people coming behind you, maybe the person who's running for your seat, or all other people who are thinking of getting into politics, coming to D.C. to make a difference? What do you say to them about this new Congress and the new way that politics is being exercised in Washington, D.C.?
Well, it's a big challenge. You can see that even within the Democratic small majority, there is not as much cohesion that we'd like to see. But it's a period of which we are going through. Right now, you see fewer and fewer Democrats getting elected from the South. And that's where the power of the population is going to the South. And so that affects who gets elected, but also how far to the right or left they might be. The further we go to the right and the further we go to the left, the less cohesion and understanding and working together that we will have. To get the least little thing in Congress now that we consider fair and just takes all the energy we can come with. This John Lewis bill, to me, that would be one of the most important bills we could take into law. But we passed that bill in the House months ago, and it still has not been able to get a real vote in the Senate. Each time it comes up, one of the senators from Texas moved to take it down.
So,
It's
Representative Johnson, I want to thank you for. I've kind of run out of time here, but I really did want to just take a moment and thank you for your time tonight, but also to thank you for all your service in Congress and the legacy you've made, not only for women, but for minorities, for people of Texas, and for all of America. Thank you.